Hi everybody, it's Nicola from Time Trees Genealogy. This is the first in a series of short videos looking at how you can get started in finding out about your family history and building your family tree. There is an absolute wealth of information available to us at our fingertips, and sometimes that can be a little bit daunting in knowing exactly where to start. So the aim of the videos is to break that down into more manageable chunks and to show you with each kind of record the information that you can get to help you to flesh out your family tree and learn more about your ancestors. I've chosen to use the Ancestry platform, and that is simply because I find it to be the most user-friendly. However, the information that we go through that you can get from the records is true across all of the different platforms. So we will start by doing a search. You can select that on the toolbar here, search all records, or you can break that down into more specific records. At this stage in your investigations, I would recommend to search all records because you could find some information that you were unaware of, and further on in your investigations, sometimes that can help to break through brick walls. So selecting search all records, and just wait for that screen to load for us. So in this bit here, enter the first and middle names of your ancestor that you're starting with. Often this is a parent or a grandparent, something that you've got a reasonable amount of knowledge around. And then put in the place your ancestor might have lived. So even if you only know a general area, still put that in because it helps to narrow down where we're looking for the records. So I know that my ancestor here lived in Oldham, and it's the one here in Lancashire, England. But as you can see, there are a number of different Oldhams in the world, so make sure you've selected the right one, or else that could lead you down a whole different route. And then for the birth year, I know that her birth year was 1911. You may not know exactly, and that's absolutely fine, because we've got an option here of either pinpointing it exactly to that year or going plus and minus 1 year, plus or minus 10 years with 2 and 5 in between. A word of caution here: if your ancestor was born towards the end of December in a particular year, their birth may not have been registered until the following year, so it wouldn't show on the index that we're going to be looking at until the following year. In that case, it's advisable to select the plus or minus 1 year option. And that's really all the information that we need to put in for this search. There is some sense in not pinpointing too much information, because sometimes the records are mistranscribed, or sometimes the information that you believe that you've been told throughout the generations isn't always correct. So if you select everything to be exact, you may miss out on the information that you're looking for. So select search, and let's see what we're presented with. Okay, so because we've chosen to look at all categories, you may find that you have a family tree that somebody has already created with your ancestor in it. These are really useful to get you in the right direction, but please check every single piece of information before you put it into your tree to make sure that it's absolutely accurate. So what we do have here is an England and Wales civil birth registration index record for Susan Mary Higgs. And we can see here it's given us some invaluable information that we didn't have before. And this is her mother's maiden name. Now, from the last quarter of 1911, all birth records that were added to the index in England and Wales will have the mother's maiden name on there. It has always been collated on the actual certificate, but not registered on the index until the last quarter of 1911, and this can be invaluable. So let's look at the actual image itself to see what information we can get. So as you can see, the quality of the image isn't brilliant, but we can still work with it. So this is births registered in October, November and December 1911. So we get the names of the babies registered in alphabetical order. We get the mother's maiden surname, the district and the volume and the page. And the volume and the page is relevant for if you need to request a copy of the actual certificate. But for our purposes now, we just need the index that we're looking at. So we find Higgs here, and we can see the first one's Albert, and we need to scroll down to find Susan. And we can find her here. Like I said, the quality is not amazing, but we can just about see Susan M. Higgs, mother's maiden name, Sunderland, and registered in the Oldham district. So we can save that. And you can see we're presented with three options here. You can either save it to a person in your tree if you've already started to create a tree. You can save it to your computer, and that will just save as a file in wherever you select to save it in the usual way that you would save a file on your computer. Or you can save to your shoebox. And this is an area where you can put information that you want to save and maybe come back to at a later date, or to add to a tree at a later date in Ancestry. So if you select save to your shoebox, you can see we've got a notice that it's been successfully saved to your shoebox, and that is on the home page of your Ancestry profile. Okay, so from that piece of information, we've discovered that Susan Mary Higgs' mother's maiden name is Sunderland. But we can see here we've also got a Church of England birth and baptism record. You may not find this, but in some areas these have been transcribed, and these can be invaluable. So what it tells us here is that her birth date is the 14th of October 1911. Now you may not have already known that, and the index only shows us in quarters, so that doesn't pinpoint it either. But the baptism record absolutely does. And we can see here that she was baptised on the 15th of November 1911. But then we get some more invaluable information here. Her father is Joseph William Higgs, and we already knew her mum's maiden name was Sunderland, and he's now married and is Higgs. But we now know that she's called Sarah Elizabeth. That then enables us to go one further generation back in the family tree that we're creating. So let's select View Image and see what we can find here. So we can see that it's baptism solemnised in the parish of Royton, which I know to be in Oldham, in the county of Lancaster in the year 1911. And it's worth noting here that counties have changed names and have changed borders as well sometimes. So if you think, oh, that's not the right county for now, it's worthwhile just double checking that it was in that county at the time that you're looking at. So we can see on November the 15th, Susan Mary, who was born on October the 14th, was baptised. And her father was Joseph William, her mother was Sarah Elizabeth Higgs. We can see that they lived at 2 Fir Lane. We can assume that to be in the parish of Royton. And that helps us in when we're looking at census information in more detail, which we'll be doing in another video on this channel. What we also find here is quality, trade or profession. So what profession did her father have? Well, he was an undercarder, which is a role in the cotton industry. And we can see here we've got piecer and spinner, and they're also roles in that industry. So that then helps to tell us that the cotton industry was prevalent in this area at that time. So we're starting to see quite a detailed picture now of Susan Mary's life and her parents' life and what it was like. And we're starting to be able to flesh out a family tree just by looking at the birth index and the baptism record information. So again, we can save that in the same way, either to a person in a tree, to your computer or to your shoebox. So we'll save it to your shoebox, okay, and that's been saved. So I hope you've enjoyed this initial video, just looking at the information that you can find from birth records and from baptism records. Please like and subscribe on our channel and come back for some more adventures into the history of our ancestors. Thank you.